Don Bishop with my report on the February 13th meeting of the Springettsbury Township Board of Supervisors. So I'm attempting to do this in a slightly different way than I've done the first couple of ones this year. And if it works better for you or worse for you, please comment, let me know. So I've got my notes here. In order for me to read my notes clearly, I need to put on my funky little computer glasses. Disclaimer. So these are my personal opinions. When I'm speaking on these videos, I am not representing Springettsbury Township. I am not representing the Springettsbury Township Board of Supervisors, and I am not representing the opinions of the Springettsbury Business Association. I'm expressing the observations and opinions of me, Don Bishop, on this meeting that happened. So the meeting, actually today it's the next day, so I remember this one pretty well. Last evening, the first thing on the agenda was to recognize Detective Russell Schauer from the Springettsbury Police Department, who for the last 10 years has been assigned to the York County Drug Task Force. And the reason he's getting recognized right now is because he's cycling off of the drug task force and back full-time with Springettsbury. But the drug task force is very interesting. District Attorney Dave Sunday decided to honor Detective Schauer, which was very nice. And the drug task force does amazing work by bringing together people, bringing together law enforcement from many different municipalities. You might know the drug task force from their rather public auctions that they have once or twice a year, where they auction off items that they've seized, cars, stereos, cash, anything else that they've seized through the year. Anyway, it was very nice that the district attorney honored one of our detectives. And by the way, District Attorney Sunday did explain in some detail the results, some of the amazing results that were achieved by Detective Schauer over that 10-year period, and it really is amazing the level of difficulty of this work. And also the amount of success that Detective Schauer had over those years. It's really to be commended. So I'm not going to talk about everything on the agenda, but just a few highlights from my point of view. Police building is something that the Board of Supervisors has identified as a very critical priority to move forward. At the last meeting, we directed the township manager to do what he could to make things happen quickly, and we got back a proposal from Buchart Horn to get started with a number of the initial design, the initial phases of this project. That proposal included a whole lot of different phases, 7 or so, and the board decided that to proceed with at least the initial schematics stage, which is kind of deciding big picture what we want to have built and what we don't want to have built. So the board did agree to move forward with that initial stage. Hopefully we can get started with that quickly. And the board also determined that on next Thursday, I guess the 20th, Thursday the 20th of February, there will be a work session of the board with everybody else involved in the project to analyze the initial phases of the schematic design and try to figure out what needs to happen next. It was also an interesting question. Buchart Horn brought forth a proposal to do all of the initial work on this project. A question came up in the board about specifically the site work, the engineering of the plan, and whether it was appropriate to give that work to Buchart Horn, who clearly has those capabilities in-house, or if that work should be done by the township engineer. So, question came up. Nothing was decided, but it will need to be decided reasonably soon, and figure out what all of the issues are, and the pros and cons and expenses and all of that sort of thing. Good news is the police building, the much needed police building, is moving forward. Cable franchise agreement is something that townships have to do every year. This is cable TV in the Commonwealth, Pennsylvania, and many others. There is only, in order to have the poles and the wires and all of that stuff for to provide cable TV to all of the local businesses and residences. The company needs to have purchases a franchise essentially to be on those streets, and this is big picture what keeps us from having 3 or 4 different companies stringing poles and wires everywhere in the township. So this cable franchise agreement was discussed a bit and approved last evening. It's actually a group of very many municipalities that get together to agree to negotiate one agreement, so that this can move forward. Previous meetings, we've had residents in talk from 10th and 11th Avenue near Sherman Street and Route 30, with traffic issues, speed issues, safety issues, cross-through traffic issues, all of that sort of thing. A number of things have been happening in terms of the police have had the speed sign up there. There have been traffic counts. There have been lots of people trying to figure out exactly what's going on. The first step to figuring out how to fix something like that is to figure out exactly what's going on, how bad is the problem, and then figure out where to go from there. We also, sort of related to this, had the township engineer created gave us a presentation about traffic calming, which is one of the things that has been done other places in the township, and specifically how traffic calming might be relevant in this particular area. It was a really interesting presentation. A lot goes into these things, how you do this and what you can do legally, what you can't do, and how do you figure out what will work and what might happen that we didn't intend to have happen. So unintended consequences are always interesting. But, I'm going to try to post this presentation if anyone wants to take a look at it. One of the things that the Board of Supervisors has been wrestling with for some time has been making sure that we're managing grants. The township has the opportunity to get grants from all different kinds of places, state government, federal government, all different little nooks and crannies of government that give money away for various reasons to try to get us to do things in certain ways. And I think there was a perception that our plans, our strategy for doing that wasn't really well organized. Now that's become a little more organized, in that we just received within the past week a spreadsheet that the township administration put together, which puts all in one place a whole bunch of different grants that we have applied for very recently, are applying for, can still apply for, so that we can figure out what energy needs to go into these things, make sure we don't miss deadlines, and be certain that we're getting our fair share of the money that other people want to give away. And now that we have that at least that information all organized in one place, because it does come from, there's different part of the police department can go after certain grants, and public works go after other grants, and parks and rec after other grants. So it is a big matrix of different things, and now we've got it organized in one place. Hopefully next we can come up with a grant strategy to figure out sort of big picture if we need outside help to do some of this, or more inside support to do this sort of thing, and how to really make sure that we're getting our fair share of all of these grants. We also were presented with an IT assessment of the township. I'm not sure exactly, to tell you the truth, where this whole idea came from and why it came up. So I've only actually been on the board for a short time this time. But the township hired Stanball Ness to come in and do an IT assessment, and we now have the results of that assessment, which were fascinating to me. I don't really want to say too much about that, other than I will say that this IT assessment revealed, first of all, upon questioning, that we haven't had any serious problems, but this assessment points out to me that the fact that we haven't had any serious problem probably has more to do with luck than any careful planning and protective measures. So I think there's some work to be done there, and hopefully now we have a process and a guideline to get that done. And finally, the director of Parks and Rec came forward with some ideas about how to allocate courts and fields all over the township. There are lots of different organizations, from soccer to basketball leagues to Little League, who use various fields and courts all over the township. And figuring out who gets to use what is an issue. And the process hasn't changed for about 20 years. And now the idea has come forward, I guess, from the Park and Rec Commission and from the Park and Rec Director, that we may want to consider charging organizations for those fields as a method of controlling the allocation and making sure they're getting used by people who really need to use them, and also to make sure that, from the township's point of view, fields are being maintained and cleaned up and recycled effectively, so that we're not just wearing them out. So anyway, that's my report. I'm now posting all of these reports on the Springettsbury Business Association's Facebook page, so you can get them there. There is also a related YouTube channel for people who don't want to be on Facebook. And we eventually hope to get them on the Springettsbury Business Association website, but that's going to take a little bit longer. But we're working on that. So if you do want more information about the Business Association, you can go to thesba.com, and you should be able to find links to all of this stuff there. But you can also sign up for an email there. You do not have to be an SBA member to get SBA emails, which are free, and will always tell you where you can get these things. So that's thesba.com. So great. Till next time, this is Don Bishop. See ya.